So should we, somebody approve the minutes?
So John, you're gonna have to pull your microphone closer.
I said, microphone. Hello, is that it?
Is the green light on?
Oh,
They're now good.
all right. Okay, shall we improve the minutes?
I move we approve. The move, if there are no
Yeah.
changes, do we need to? We just,
Okay, they're approved.
Did you have changes?
nope.
Okay.
Is this really on? Yes.
Yeah. Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, so the, our new member? Or no, the new chair I'm talking about.
Yes, because
How are we
you,
gonna do that?
I know we're losing you and not for another meeting. But I thought we could at least get people to start thinking about.
Yeah, that would be fine. I'm
like one.
I'm scheduled to move sometime in August, middle of August, so I'll be glad to go again, but then I would be, I don't know when my official citizenship ends. Is there a ceremony or?
Would you like there to be a ceremony?
No,
We can do that. Would you like? a
no, I
day
think
in
it would
your
be with
honor?
it might be with a boot, so I don't think I'll.
Yeah, I mean, I'll have to check with Katie to see,
No.
but
No, I meant, I'll be here, I'll still
Yeah.
be a quasi citizen, but
where are you moving?
I'm moving down into, the South City
Oh.
with my son. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
So we're in the process, but I'll be fine to be here. So if we want to, so we'll be getting my replacement before I leave? Are we trying to do that or?
Well, I think that's the goal. If I might suggest, people now know that this is something that needs to be done and think about and have you chair the August meeting. I think even if you move sometime in August, our August meeting counts as a
Yeah.
resident. And
Okay,
then
I'm just,
maybe- Maybe have nominations and elections for officers at that
okay,
particular meeting.
that would be fine.
So people can think about it a minute before they.
And we
step
can do
forward
it
to
all
be
in
chair.
August. Yeah, and I'll still be here if something doesn't work out.
Okay.
Okay. And the Burr Oak event, that was nice to see all that marketing material out in the paper
Yeah.
and the postcards.
We we sent her $1,800 as we agreed at the last meeting. So she does have that money. And she thanked us for it. She's very grateful. She did say that if anyone is interested in volunteering that evening on the 14th, to let me know and I can pass your name and email along. And so if you're interested in helping out in any way with setup or at the event or anything like that, she's looking for volunteers. So.
Okay, anything else on that? I know I've been to the last two and they were a lot of fun. I don't know how many people have been there, but.
This
Yeah.
one's
Great.
gonna have, I
They're
guess, more of a
wonderful.
jazz feel.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, so it'll be nice jazz.
This one doesn't have doesn't have a set theme mentioned, so it must be a pretty good mix of music.
She did mention jazz will be the central,
Oh, really?
yeah,
Oh,
musical style.
Yeah, they just listed the performers, I guess, not a theme on the card.
mm-hmm. Okay,
Are we trying to bring her onto this commission? That was discussed. at
Let's
some
discuss
point.
once. I don't know if she's got the time or anything, but I know she's approached, but.
Yeah.
Oh.
Maybe if someone goes to the event, maybe recruit her or something.
I
John.
talked to her one evening, and she was wanting to get on a commission, but she was looking at the Parks Commission, I guess, because of the connection with Larson. And I mentioned that at that time we had other openings,
Yeah,
and I told her I would be leaving, So I don't guess, maybe she was more interested in the parks.
might be. And I know they were also looking for members. They didn't have quorum for a while, so they couldn't meet. So maybe they were in a more position of need than we were to get somebody on there.
It probably would be something they could even start their own Burr Oak Foundation or something,
She could also be members of both. Yeah.
Hmm?
She's able to be members of both commissions. if She wanted to. Maybe you convince her, John.
Yeah. Okay, the Arts Fund information budget. You want to
Yay.
chalk off some points here?
We have our budget sheets. I just got these this morning, so I haven't even gotten a chance to look too much at it, but I can kind of see what we've spent on things and
Morning.
then how much money we have. So as you can see, the PO, the signs for the sculpture garden, I did make sure that we had that money encumbered for the next year. I know that we had done it, but you kind of have to do it before each year. So that was something I've spoken to them. I told them which one we want. But I was like, I realized that this price is from 2021 and it's now 2023. So if it's slightly different, please let me know. And he's like, will do. So I haven't heard back from him yet. But he was out of town and then someone else, but he was pulling those prices based on that for 12 signs, because we're going to do the sculpture garden then plus Barbary Park sculpture to have those all matching. I do have the little web pages done. So all of the photos are listed on each individual page for the artwork. So thank you very much for sending me those photos. I really appreciate it. They looked great. And so I think we'll be good to go when he comes back with the price, because we've got all of the information we need for the signs and it's just a matter of producing them and putting them up. So I went back into the bids that we had. The bid that we had for the bronze signs was like 5,600. But he's like, yeah, it's going to be more than that. So I just took all of those bids that you had gotten from 2 years ago and I picked the most expensive bid and I used that for the encumbrance, because I'm like, well, it'll definitely be less than
Right.
7,000. So that's kind of, if you're looking at that amount and you're like, that's more than we decided. It is, and it probably won't be that much, but I didn't want to encumber 5,600 and then have him come back and say it's actually going to be 6,300 right now, because you're looking at 2021 prices. So that's what that means.
And when the signs come back, do we have to then wait for the parks people to be able to install them, or can they do them right
Public
away?
Works will be
Public
installing them
Works,
for us.
okay.
Yeah, yeah. So it'll be added to there. As soon as I get a general idea of when they'll be delivered and how long it'll take to get done, I'll let Todd, the Public Works Director, know so he can start putting that on their planning calendar. And of course, hopefully it's at some point before the fall, so it could happen before everything gets cold. So
Did they say about how
I'm
much?
or do I have to talk in here? I'm at a loss. I can't hear, I can hear you.
Oh,
'cause you're
okay.
Nearby, but over there, I don't hear much
Okay, so,
unless they're really talking. in
Yeah.
here.
We really got to face into it. Is that better?
Hmm?
Can you hear it now?
Hear you now.
okay.
Can you hear me?
Okay,
Can you hear me now?
yes.
Okay. I'll turn to the speakers up a little bit more in the room.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Thanks.
You might also ask them, you know, how long it would take to get the signs made, and then you could alert the public works.
Yeah.
As
Just
to
be,
when,
you
because
know,
they could schedule it maybe a little earlier.
yeah, because if I can say we'll get them by about September 15th, then they can start planning for that then.
So as I read the budget, well, first of all, what will be what is next year's budget allocation?
there,
I think that's on the back.
there,
back?
other side.
Sorry. Got it. Okay.
Yeah, and as
So-
I read the budget, we have a deficit.
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
So we've got 7,400, it looks like next year.
Uh-huh.
And that's, that does not include the money that was encumbered and put aside and saved for the signs.
Then why is there a negative balance then? With the signs?
I think that's just the accounting to show that it's come from a different fiscal year. We have to account it as if we've spent it in the last fiscal year, I believe.
I think
Does that
so.
sound right to you?
Okay. So.
So it's an accounting mechanism, not a realistic interpretation of how much money is in the budget. The other, which is also why I think the other side doesn't include that amount. Am I correct?
I believe so. I
Okay.
believe so. And I apologize, I didn't have too much time to
Alright.
dig through this or ask questions
So
before we got it.
Basically what they're saying is that 40, basically 4,500 of this budget is accounted for in prior year's budgets.
I think it was carried over because we did this a couple of years ago. We had these prices. So
Yes.
I mean, I can't,
Yes,
I don't know if
think
I'm
what you just
answering your
said is
question, but
correct. Yes.
Yeah. okay.
So when this is encumbered, it's just like put into a savings account where we can't use it for anything else, but it's only there
Right,
for
but we
that.
just have to know, yeah, so I just wanted to see, yeah, where's that money coming from? But it's from a savings account or some sort of.
I mean,
exchange
I'm
account.
calling it that in my
Yeah.
mind, but so right now, we're starting
Fresh.
now with 7,400
Right.
more money.
Mhm.
What are the two different budget lines? I probably should know this, but I don't.
I don't either. That was my next question.
Jenny, there are two different budget lines, budget numbers. What does that represent?
I'm gonna go get my budget, Jen.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't,
Okay.
Look at the, it's a budget ring that you use. It's like a secret decoder ring.
yeah.
And you can point it to the budget and it tells you what it does.
Oh, I wish that were true.
Huh?
I really wish that were true.
Well, we can have. So shall we, while we're waiting, start on anything in the lifetime achievement of the arts?
Right. So I
Do-
wasn't, so I get to report fully. I went to Josephine Weil because Bob Casserly designed their garden and
Okay.
she got to know him quite well. And what I was thinking is of getting some insights and thoughts from her. But she told me that we should be very careful because Gail Casserly kind of is very careful about managing Bob's memory and his image. And that there was an instance in the past where a group wanted to honor Bob and she was opposed to it. So Josephine suggested that Josephine, who's a friend of Gail's, that Josephine could lay the groundwork and get in touch. I've written several times follow-up to Josephine and I have not gotten a response yet. So I don't know, presumably she hasn't yet talked to Gail, but I think unfortunately, I think we do, knowing that, kind of have to wait until we can get Gail's kind of approval or buy-in before we plan this. I don't think anybody would want to do the event without having her.
Mhm. Yeah, it's to honor him. So if it would offend his
Yeah, of
family, we don't
course.
want that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there does the group feel like there should be like a date that if we haven't heard by this meeting, we just go ahead and pick someone else?
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Like,
I
if-
agree.
like-
I will now try to call her. I've done an email. I didn't want to do such a thing. But I will try phoning her now. And I know she's just busy. I suspect that's what it is.
So shall we leave it that if we don't have word one way or the other in August, then we'll go to select somebody else?
By the end of August, by the middle of August?
I was thinking by our next meeting,
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
that's-
Okay.
and then we'd be all here. So if anybody's thinking of an alternative people, we should bring it up at that point and maybe we can vote and get the thing done.
Yeah, because I believe that we had discussed the gentleman from the Ozark Theater. That was somebody
Dan
that,
Stevens, right,
Stevens?
yeah, that was somebody that Jan had suggested, I think.
right.
Mm.
Yeah, that was one of the names sticking in my head.
And I believe that we voted that would be the second,
I,
be
I-
the follow-up if
yeah,
Casserly.
I was like, I'm gonna have to check my minutes, but yeah, if someone else remembers that, then I know I'm not.
Yeah, I
making
do
it up.
remember that.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Okay, so then back to the budget.
Yeah, so back to the budget. So the first line, that ends in 718 is a special events line. And then the second 803 is professional services. So all of the boards and commissions, there's not a separate line item in the budget that we adopt for the Arts Commission compared to other commissions. All the commissions are budgeted together. It's within the policy that we set out which is which. So it's special events and professional services. And the Arts Commission actually is 40% of the total for all of our 13 boards and commissions.
So our total balance is 7,400.
Correct.
Okay.
by the way, the special events versus professional services, we can move that around if needed based on the demands of the activities that the commission's engaged in.
So looking at our bottom line, what is our
70,
Yeah, 7,400. As far as the fiscal year is closed out. Let's just say we put in a piggy bank that is now unrelated to the commission, the money for the signs in the different parks.
right.
And so that really, because we're trying very hard not to encumber things from one year to the next. So that means we're not letting people keep it in their budgets. So just think of that as a totally separate pie that we're not even really accounting for it as an arts commission thing. We're accounting for it as a project that the city had not completed by the end of the fiscal year.
So
And it-
that 7,630, that is, that's what's saved for the.
Right.
signs.
And in part, it's that way because if it doesn't cost $7,000, the Arts Commission doesn't get what's left. The Arts Commission gets what's needed to finish the project, and then the rest goes back to the general fund.
But by the same token, if we have laid aside the 4,500, if it goes up, we can take from this year's budget, add to that, right?
Yes.
Because
Although I think that's worth a conversation because the city has committed by encumbering to financing that project. So let's have a conversation before we say it has to come out of this fiscal year's budget. Because this fiscal year's budget was budgeted not accounting for that expense. Now, I'm not saying that
No,
somebody
but
won't
I'm-
come back and say you have to use your budget, but I don't think we should assume that that's the way it's going to go.
But it could be that there's a set percentage that they will allow to go up because of these circumstances with timing and
Yeah.
everything. And then if there was any more, we could,
I think
Fit
that's
it in.
I think that's exactly what Jenny was trying to avoid in going with the highest bid is making sure there's
Right.
room. So hopefully we will not have to deal with that.
well, I don't remember quite I think bronze was our first choice.
It
but-
was, and that was like 5,600 according to
And there
that.
was an aluminum one too that was not too bad right behind it.
Yeah, and then there was one that was more expensive. That's this one, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So when the estimate comes back from, do we need to make a decision about finish or anything like that?
I know because we decided already bronze. So yeah, so I just said the bronze statues, just tell me what the current price is for the bronze.
So even if the bronze price would be larger, higher than the amount that we've set aside, we would go ahead with the bronze. Or would that-
If it's much higher than the amount we've set aside, I would come back to the group and ask if they want to take
You
some
wanna
of their
s-
budget money or if we want to find out about aluminum now. Yeah.
Would you want to, or we could all vote on a percentage increase that we would allow Jenny just to go ahead and order it instead of putting it back to another. In other words, if it only goes up up to 10% more.
I think as long as it stays within her elevated estimate here, you don't need to vote at all. You've already done.
No, I
that.
meant if it's
it's beyond
over, like
that?
say it's
Yeah.
6,000, which would be under 10% more than we
Well,
have.
6,000 is under what she has set aside here.
Oh, I
so-
thought she's,
So the 76 is what she set aside.
oh, I see. Okay, I was looking at the final over here. Okay. Oh, then we're
Yeah.
fine. We're sure we're
Yeah.
fine.
So if they come back and say it's going to be 8,000, I would much rather just go to the group, even if it's just an email vote and say, what do we think?
Okay, well, it sounds like we're going to have signs.
Yay.
Is there any action that's needed from the commission to finish this project up? Do we need to go to businesses to get their sponsorship, or is that committed already?
That's for the banners later on. We can talk about,
Okay.
yeah, but just for these are just the signs that are going to go by the sculptures where people can scan a code and then learn more about each sculpture if they're walking around the garden.
Okay.
Yeah,
All the labels, and then we don't get that.
labels, yeah, yes.
So is the text all approved for each sculpture?
Yeah. think we
I
have-
believe so. I believe that was something that Beth had done previously. And so I had that, and that's what I used for the website.
All right.
So, and it was kind of title of sculpture. But hopefully by the August meeting, then I can show, or I can even just do, I mean, we can also do a lot of these things via email. If I get the layout of it from the company, I can send that document out to everybody and just have everyone look at it and give a yay or nay over email to keep it moving.
Okay.
That would be good, because I think in the case where there's been substantial funding, we want to make sure that that's legible.
Mhm.
And the scan could have all kinds of information on it, you know, when they scan it. That's what I was also thinking of too, is when they scan it, they get more in-depth information.
Mhm.
Okay. All right.
That's all up on the website.
It is.
Oh, okay. I'll check. Okay, on to miscellaneous updates, signs.
Kind of just talked about the signs.
Oh, that was a sign. I was thinking
Yeah.
banners. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, Parks and Rec meeting.
That was the meeting that
Yeah.
they had a small meeting to kind of talk about the renaming of the sculpture garden. And I met with Scott and their chair, and it's in progress. Their policy manual on renaming of things. They're working on it now. They're hoping to present it to the council. We've got that whole process in place to like present things to the council, but I believe that Scott's working on that form. So I think he's hoping that it would be, I don't know how privy you are to the list of hopefuls, but I think he's hoping like September, October is something that it
Yeah.
would be on. That
That's-
schedule is when they would present their
Yeah.
plan to the council and be like, this is the policy and procedure that we would like to implement. If people would like to rename either a park or a portion of a park or a sculpture or something in memorial for people, and then have the council approve it. So that'll be approved then, hopefully, you know, in the fall, and then we would be able to apply using the new policy as approved.
And banners.
Sorry, I missed the last meetings.
No, we just put the banners on hold to hear, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I guess since I missed the last meetings, was the banners encompassed into your marketing budget rather than into this new budget? Or how's all that working? I don't know.
So the 7,400 would have to include the banners as we see that or whatever we would do of the banners. And then also I know that we had been talking about approaching area businesses for their buy-in. So I think a lot of the cost would then come from arts organizations.
Yeah, so assuming that like we would basically have the arts organizations pay for the costs of the banner, thus equalizing
Yeah.
or the revenue would equalize the expense. I think from my perspective, we already have the specs. We understanding what maybe the cost of the thing is. I think it would just be in terms of the design, you just want it to be consistent in whatever type of format you wanted to do in terms of like city of the arts image, website. And then I think from this group's perspective, we would just divvy up the arts organizations that we wanted to approach in terms of who had the best relationships for it and say, hey, do you want a banner at $100 or whatever we set the price at, based upon whatever I can't remember what the costs of the.
And I remember, and I
each
think
one
that
is.
was the discussion that we had at the last one. So maybe at the August meeting, it's a matter of we could finalize the form with prices and then vote on if this is the structure that we want. And so you're raising your hand. I'm not sure if we explained what the project was, but you know, the street banners that you see all over the place, City of the Arts. We thought it would be cool if we redid those banners and it says like City of the Arts, Opera Theater, St. Louis, and has a picture of the Opera Theater, and they would pay us a little bit of money for that. And City of the Arts, Webster Arts, City of the Arts Repertory, you know, just have all of our different arts organizations that we have in town have its own banner. So that when you kind of drive through, you not only see that we're the City of the Arts, but you see why we're the City of the Arts. And
you're asking the arts organizations to pay for that through their marketing budgets. And if you're asking them to pay $100 for a banner that's pretty reasonable, in my opinion. You spend more on that on Facebook ads and everything else. So
Do we have a mock-up of what one of those will look like?
We can do that then. So for the next meeting, we can have a mock-up of the sponsorship form and a mock-up of the banner and kind of go through that. Okay.
How many do we have available and who will be approaching the?
wasn't it like over
Organization.
20? Was it?
Yeah,
over
it was
20?
like 24 in Old Webster and I think 12 in Old Orchard. And that's I think where we just need to see with which organizations are we going to approach and who's going to approach them.
And was the cost per band, was it somewhere around like $50 or something like that? Does that sound right in terms of like the printing costs? Was that about what it was?
I need to double check on that.
And then we
see.
were just going to cushion it because you actually have to install them as well.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it seems like $100 is not a crazy, it's a nice round number. And then any of the overage, quote unquote, overage that you would have could just go into the additional banner signage that you could.
Yeah,
that you could
replace
print.
ones that get ripped and
Exactly.
things like that. Because I know
Exactly.
we've had to just take down a few of the regular Webster Arts ones just because they've been ripped from weather and other things. And I asked Public Works the one time there was somebody and he called and he lived up Rock Hill and he was like, this banner's ugly and I would like you to take it down today. Because those are the calls I get.
I do think that you could, if you have enough banners, you could offer an arts organization too.
Yeah,
So if you have like over 30 or 40 banner spots,
Yeah.
offer them two is pretty good.
and and that could be one of those, like maybe that's what we put on the form, like $100 for one banner, $175 for two,
Yeah.
something like that, a discount. Because I could see where the Webster Theater Guild, they're smaller. I don't think they have a huge budget. They might just be like, we can afford $100 for one banner, but the repertory obviously has a slightly larger marketing budget than Webster Theater Guild, a little bit. But like MJ.
We'll find
Performing-
out this season. won't
Find
we?
out this season.
Yeah.
But like MJ Performing Arts School is another one that might just be able to do one banner and that would be great, but
Right.
Yeah.
Are they all nonprofits? Or are we going to like galleries or how are we going to choose the?
Well, I think we're gonna make a listing of what
Uh-huh.
we think and then.
I think
work
you
from
just
there.
go off of the list that we already have on our website in terms of the arts organizations that are here.
Okay.
We just split them up with this group and say, hey, I know the opera person, I know this person, and we just assign it to each member here. We all take 5 or something like that. If we feel comfortable with approaching, I mean, all you're really doing is saying, I'm on the commission, we're doing these banners. This is what the cost is. Do you want to do it or not? You're not even really soliciting donations. You're just telling them
A service for them.
you're
To me,
you're
we're
doing a
the work
service.
Initiative, they're getting something out of it for not much of a cost. I think it's
Yeah.
it's not, and it's one of those things as well that it's, I need to look at the list and see how many folks are on it, but let's say we have 50 arts organizations, but 35 banners, then we just let them know it's first come, first served. When we're sold out of banners, we're sold out. So
Yeah.
Has anybody else seen the banners in Maplewood? The
No.
banners in Maplewood?
No.
They have, they're
Yeah.
different parts of the city, but mostly on
Right.
Manchester, and it's called Makers of Maplewood, and so it's got the artisan's picture, and under it says Candle Maker, and then his company or wherever he's located. And it seems like it's very similar to what, exactly to what we want. I think it's a little cluttered. You can't see any, thing real good, but of course I noticed that stuff, so I'm,
Yeah. Those banners are ours are pretty small. I mean, in terms of like the square footage, right? So I think the last time we discussed this, we said you would ask from an arts organization for an image
yes.
and a logo and their website. And right. And then above that or below it, it doesn't really matter. You put City of the Arts. And then it's just like, they're all real standardized in terms of, their design. The design is whatever the arts organization image is.
this is something that kind of inspired me by it, that Edwardsville, I know the lady who does communications in Edwardsville, and they did something like that. So they essentially have City of Edward, theirs is called Hometown Heroes, and then they had the people submit a picture and then their name and that. So they have those around. They've got a current one running now with their hometown heroes, their nurses and teachers and people like that, firefighters who have helped. But I liked the fact that it's, you just kind of want a picture in your head. We've got City of Webster Grove, City of the Arts, a picture from some recent production, and then underneath it, their logo and maybe their website, and just kind of have those around town. So it's just kind of a nice,
Simple.
Didn't
Mhm.
you do some mock-ups before?
Yeah.
yes.
Remember
Not
seeing one.
quite like, yeah, they were, but they were a little different than, yeah, it was in the run-up to the City of the Arts.
Mhm.
We did them where they basically got about 2/3 of the,
Yeah.
for an image. And I think they're here somewhere. But I don't know whether it's as appropriate to this way that we have.
Because I kind of remember you had a couple of ideas
Mhm.
and then we decided on one specifically. I'm almost sure.
We never went to any finish with it because then we went into the City of the Arts logo.
Okay.
So we'll do that for the August meeting. We'll have the sponsorship form to kind of finalize the details on that, and the mock-ups, like we can just, I'll find the document with the mock-ups, and if you
Let me
want-
know if you can, because I got them. I'll send you. what I have.
Perfect, thank you.
I don't know that they're the way that we've discussed it now. I don't know that they're appropriate for everybody. They were perfect for the Opera Theater because you got a big picture of what they were, presenting at that time.
And there's no ability to put any banners at Crossroads?
So I believe, does Crossroads have its own banners? That's what I'm trying to think.
Yeah, so the City of the Arts banners are separate from the business district banners, which are separate from the city banners.
Mhm.
So the business districts essentially, ownership is a strong word, but they decide what goes on those banners, and those banners are purchased from their funds.
Yeah,
So, I mean, I think we could ask Crossroads. I mean, they may like that, especially given that they now have turned into a little bit more of a maker community
Mhm.
within Webster Grove. So there's nothing to say we can't ask them and let them know what we're doing, but they really do get to decide what goes on their polls.
yeah.
Even give them maybe something that would just say, City of the Arts, and then in place of one place,
Yeah.
just fill them all with Crossroads
Right.
District or
Is-
something.
There's no gallery on Crossroads, is there?
There's a framing
A
store.
framing store,
And
okay.
there's there are a couple of design stores, so
Yes.
it does seem as though
Right.
they're really
That's close.
moving, yeah,
Architecture.
yeah.
Yeah.
We could do the art of the bagel.
One architect. Yeah.
Culinary arts are an important art as well.
Does this have to be teed all up as it pertains to the budget and executing it? Does it require bids or anything like that? Like, once we solicit the organizations, can this go? Like, does it require bidding and blah, 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 blah from a vendor, or can you just execute?
I think we can just execute. We've got the guy, we got a banner guy, like the city's got a banner guy, and he does the banners for, like, so it's so funny, like, once you start talking about banners, when you drive through the city now, even going home, you're gonna be like reading the banners as you drive and figuring out, but he's done the Old Orchard, the printing of those banners, and the Old Webster printing of those banners and Crossroads and different things. And even when the school district called me, not too long ago, they as well, I think I gave them the same banner company that we had used, so.
If I was to spitball a timeline, I would say now until the end of the year, December 2023, and then basically printing and execution in 2024. So it seems tight, but maybe not, depending upon how many you're trying to get up.
That timing probably is pretty good for Public Works to get them up as well, because winter is their lighter season.
Yeah.
Yeah, and once they take down all the Christmas decorations, then they're out there anyway, so.
And I'm just thinking like a clean start in terms of if you're asking organizations like, yeah, these are going to be up at the, first of the year or the beginning of 2024. You can be vague. Yeah, first quarter. Yes. So I can put that in like the
Mhm.
form, you know,
Yeah.
because you want to be able to provide some type of concrete answer. It's like, okay, well, when are they going to be up? How long are they going to be up? You know, the life, sometimes I would say the lifetime of a banner or
Yeah.
something like that, which is maybe 5 years.
Yeah. Like two to 5
Also,
years.
you know, for the image, you need to tell them whatever that banner company requires for that space. you know,
Yeah.
how Big.
Yeah.
So the one of them doesn't look, blurry and somebody else look good.
Yeah.
Yeah, photographs are kind of hard, especially in terms of what they might choose in terms of being able to be seen as distant as anything but a blur,
Yeah.
so, I mean, that we may need to do some coaching about photographs and what
Mhm.
kind of photographs would be
Well, they,
more useful.
yeah, they
Yeah.
tell them the specifications of
Yeah.
it, so that everybody's the same.
Yeah.
I
So
think we'll need.
given that banners may be switched out over time, on your form, do it say minimum 1 year, to say a minimum of the time, so.
But yeah, like
this is
I
what-
would think like minimum, like 2 to 5 years seems to make sense to me, because I think 5 years is probably the absolute maximum. But then, if we have a couple of stormy summers, 2 years might be as much as something makes.
Yeah, and I would think we don't have to put a maximum. I think.
Yeah, I would just say
It's
the
just
minimum
minimum.
2 year. I agree.
And then also the placement of those would be first come, first serve. If one organization, goes for 2 of them, let's say, and they want them at a certain point, then that's those sections gone. So we almost have to plan out how we would prioritize those selections of spaces, like close to the organization or, however.
Yeah.
In the,
Present a map with.
we could just put
these-
location by request,
Yeah.
blank, and then first come, first serve.
Yeah. We will attempt to
Yeah, attempt to.
honor location requests.
And another thing that
without
just popped in
submitting
my
to it.
head, in case you didn't sell them all, you almost need a banner that can exist without a sponsor,
Yeah. Well, and that like at
something in
least
that
we've
image that
got
talks about,
the sculpture garden, and we've
Yeah.
got some other art
well, that'd
things
be a
around
good
town
idea.
that
We
we
have
could,
our own
yeah.
little selection of things there that we want to use.
Because I think the sculpture garden is kind of the Barbary Park sculpture, like we could just put a few of those around for the ones we don't sell. And those can, come out of the printing budget. I always have a big printing budget just in case we have to
So in
print
August.
parking
I'm
tags and
sorry, go
things.
I'll redraft the sponsorship form. I'll send it to Jenny and you, John, and just incorporating some of this language that we just talked about today.
Is there a way we could look at it before we get to the meeting? I find for me, I like to process things before I have to come in and talk about them.
Sure.
No, I think that's definitely possible. Yeah,
You just email it to everybody and then
Mhm.
we'll discuss it in August meeting.
that works.
Okay.
And a mock-up too, or
Yeah.
I'll look at the mock-up that I have
Okay.
and we can chat on the phone or something like that based on the conversations we have, if you're still happy with it, or if you're like, I want to tweak it a little bit before we meet again.
Yeah, can
Okay.
we see the mock-up ahead too?
I think we'll get them all together. one
Yeah.
packet. Is there anything else, anybody?
John, I do have a couple of announcements, if that's okay.
Sure.
The Charter Review Advisory Board, which I think most of you know has been put together to review our charter, which hasn't been reviewed in over 20 years, is going to have an open house August 9th from 5 to 7 at the rec center. You should get a postcard next week inviting you to that. There are several important issues that they are trying to get some public feedback on, including the longstanding discussion about whether an at-large or an award system is appropriate for this community. Council and mayor salaries, which haven't changed since the 1960s. Initiative petition processes. And so this is their event that they're really trying to get as many people. And it's going to be done in a table presentation style. So you can go anytime between 5 to 7, run yourself around the different issues, make your voice known through a process that they'll have there. I think mostly it's writing Post-it notes and putting in places or talking to commission members. So you don't have to be there at 5. You can go at any time that you'd like to go. The second thing is we will have a resolution, I think at our next meeting on our strategic plan, depending on whether we can make it beautiful looking before then. And really, I'm looking at Jenny because that's her job.
Okay, and that's my deadline. I knew I had that job. I did not know that it was the next meeting deadline. I will get. on
Well,
that.
I mean, because if
Yeah.
it doesn't go in the next meeting, it waits till September. So.
Yeah, okay,
That's
right. August,
But
okay.
recall, I'm not allowed to set deadlines for you.
No,
So,
that's right. No, it's,
the,
personal deadline.
it's important to mention to me for this commission, because there are a couple of things in it that I think that you will be happy about. One is creativity is one of the central values of the strategic plan. One of the guiding principles is that we are a community with a foundation in the arts. And then one of the tactics, the things that we've asked staff to really begin to look at and implement is a review process by staff about the establishment, excuse me, of a community foundation, which may be the answer to some of our ongoing discussions about raising money and how we do that and what we do that. So our finance department is going to begin to explore how we might create a foundation for the city of Webster Groves. We don't have anyone in the room has any experience with something like that. Just wait for your phone to ring. I'm sure it will.
Is that separate from the commission?
It is. So the council can adopt a strategic plan. We haven't formally adopted one in many years. The Charter Review Advisory Board is put together to make recommendations to council about changes to the charter. Council then, anything that council agrees with or thinks the voters should decide on is then sent to the voters probably sometime in 2024 for voter approval. So nothing changes in the charter without voter approval.
Okay, is there anything, part of this is anything, I've had a couple of people mention to me or ask me about this, making that City of the Arts an official designation or slogan or something of the city, since we're gonna, put it on more banners and be selling that.
It is not a slogan, a
Yes.
catchphrase, whatever is not part of
No.
the strategic plan. There is an updated mission statement, an updated vision statement, but there is no designation of something like that.
All right, there any other items?
no, I guess the only thing that I know Piano Fest happens in August. And Patrick Murphy, one of our former members, used to be very involved in that, and that's how we would get involved to pay for porta potties and things like that. But if anyone else hears anything about Piano Fest that they need help, I guess have them reach out to me. I'm not sure if anybody's involved in that event, but without that go-between of Patrick, I'm not sure if they'll approach us, but we'll see.
You can certainly, I mean,
Yeah.
we're sponsoring it, right? So we got the. sort of-
Yeah, well, and I'll have to see, I'll see if I can reach out to Michael Silverman and see what kind of help they need and what that would look like. Cause in the past, like I just realized it when I looked down, I saw $448 for porta potty rental. And that was the way that we would co-sponsor it in the past.
It's an important way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there you go. Here's your porta potty. So, yeah, but I'll reach out to Michael Silverman because that might be the only thing coming up in August. I remember it always happens end of the month, when the students are moving into town, because it's one of those kind of things that it's like, well, that would be cool if they would come, but
Has anybody heard? Are we having the, excuse me, are we having the piano out on the street again?
I don't believe so. I think that was just a thing for last year's Piano Fest.
Okay.
Yeah.
So our next meeting would be August 1st. Is that okay with everybody?
Yes, it would be August 1st.
All right. So if there's nothing else, I guess we can adjourn.
Right.
Last call for any other business? Okay. We're adjourned.